very nice to visit with you today, even though not right there in person. I was a school teacher, and it would be important to have different things to show to the students in your classes. I went to school in Morristown from the 3rd grade through the high school, and later was lucky enough to be a teacher in Morristown High School. I did not teach art. They did not have art for anyone in the school at the time that I was teaching there. They had mechanical drawing, but you had to be a boy to be allowed to take that. So I had a long career of doing more things besides being a teacher. I was the executive director of the American Red Cross chapter here in Morristown for a number of years. Then when I retired, I wanted to go back to what I'd always wanted to do, and that was to draw things that I had admired in books and in traveling. So I went to an art class, and in the class, in the last 20 years, I have painted these pictures. I'm what you call a Sunday artist. I'm not a person who meant to have a career as a professional, but the doing of it is extremely satisfying. You cannot think about anything else if you're concentrating on drawing what is in your mind and putting it on a piece of paper. You can do it all kinds of ways with all sorts of mediums at all times of the day in all sorts of locations. It's a very marvelous hobby for anyone at any age to look into and think about getting the joy out of it that I have. This is a drawing on suede board with pastel pencils, and it is of a snow leopard, an endangered species that you don't see too many of, even where they still exist, because their environment tends to shrink, and yet it's a hard time to get one because they live so high in the mountains. And after I got him painted, I decided that I would call him Eyes of Warning. This is a drawing of what I call a spirit bear. The spirit bear was sacred to the early Indians living up in the Canadian area. He is not a bear like a polar bear. He is a white-black bear. Now, the early citizens never told the trappers and the people coming into the area about them because they were sacred, and they were very rare, seldom seen, never discussed, and they still do exist on 2 small islands up in British Columbia. So the title of this one is just The Spirit Bear. This is another drawing by a pastel pencil on suede board, and I call this one Gone to Ground. There's an old Irish song, and the last line of it is, "And the fox has gone to ground." So this has always been one of my favorites. This is an oil painting. It's done on a very inexpensive piece of masonite that I first put white gesso on and let it all dry, and then painted on it with oil paints. And it's called a landscape painting, and it was painted outside in an actual spot just to the left of the bridge where you go across to Granger County. And it was in a summer afternoon, and the teacher came with the class, and we all painted our views that we saw from that particular spot.